everybody, and welcome to the 2022 State of Cycling. I am Jana Victor of the Commute Smart Raleigh team here with the City of Raleigh. I'd like to thank you all for being here, and for those of you that don't know, we here at Commute Smart Raleigh, we provide advice, education, and assistance to increase the use of transportation options, such as walking, transit, carpooling, vanpooling, even teleworking, and of course, biking. So we do this to save people money, improve commuter health, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and just more efficiently use our transportation infrastructure. So with that, feel free to write any questions in the chat anytime as we move along today, but we will get to them after both of our speakers have completed their presentations. Just to get us in a biking mindset, I'm going to kick us off with a very short educational video. Okay, let me go ahead and share that. And here we go.
Commute smarter, not harder. Presented by Commute Smart Raleigh and Go Raleigh. Today we will learn how to put a bike on the bus. Let's watch. See how fast and easy that was? Now let us go over it again, step by step. First, squeeze the middle handle and slowly lower it as shown to pull the rack down. If yours is the first bike, place your tires into the spot closest to the bus. Make sure to put the front wheel in the location that is marked front wheel on the rack. Once your bike is inserted into the slot, safely secure your bike by pulling the support arm out and up over the front wheel as close to the frame as possible. That was your last step. You are now ready to continue to your next destination. Additional things to remember are: remove any loose items from your bike before loading it, such as water bottles or bike locks. Make sure to be off your bike and signal the driver that you want to board the bus to ensure they know you are a passenger. Do not lock your bike to the external bike rack. When exiting the bus, please let the driver know that you will be taking your bike off the front rack. If the rack is empty after you remove your bike, please pull the handle out and up to return the rack back to its upright position. For your safety, please make sure to wait on the curbside for the bus to leave before continuing with your journey. All Go Raleigh buses are equipped with a rack that can accommodate up to 2 bicycles. If you have any further questions, please contact us at commute@raleighnc.gov or visit our website, raleignc.gov/commutesmart.
Okay, wonderful. So maybe some of you learned something. Oh, oopsie, here we go. I need to go ahead and stop this video that is playing in the background. Sorry about that. Oop. Goodbye to that. All right, I had another video coming up. I don't know if you guys were able to hear that since I stopped sharing. Anywho, so maybe some of you learned something. Maybe some of you already knew how to put a bike on the bus, but combining your bike trips, bus and bike together can be a great solution to help you get around. So if you don't have a bus stop near you where you need to go, that'll be a good way to do it. So that being said, first up, we do have Fontaine Burris. She will introduce herself some and go over what she does specifically, but she's been a great coworker of mine with the city since about 2017. She's been a key player in improving bike and walking infrastructure throughout the city of Raleigh. She is actually the one that launched our bike share program, and she's had a really heavy hand in developing the Complete Streets program as well, and so much more. So Fontaine, I'm going to go ahead and share your presentation, and please go ahead as soon.
Thank you, Jayla, for that kind introduction. As Jana said, and Jenny can go to the next slide. Fontaine Burris, I am the Bicycle and Pedestrian Program Manager. I actually just recently stepped into this role. I was previously a transportation planner in the transportation planning group, working in the Complete Streets implementation program. And prior to that, I was the city's bike share program manager. And I also was very involved in micromobility with scooter share as well. I oversee the bike share program or the bike program, also pedestrian infrastructure. But today I'm really going to focus on kind of what we have been working on, what we achieved in 2021, and then also looking forward to some really exciting projects that we have coming down the pipeline. We had a really great 2021. Jane, you can go to the next slide. We got almost 18 miles of bikeway installed, from some side paths, separated bike lanes, buffered bike lanes, also some neighborhood bikeways and sharrows. So a lot got put on the ground this year. Some more notable projects. Jane, if you go to the next slide. Some kind of the big ones that I want to highlight. We got the second phase of the downtown north-south connector installed that's in our downtown area from North Street to Peace Street. It's the second phase of a 4-phase project that we have been working on, that's going to connect downtown to the 5 Points neighborhood. Radford Drive Greenway connector. This was a really exciting one that helped connect the Crabtree Greenway section that had been closed due to a bridge collapse for several years. So that was really exciting to have open. Bike lanes over the Atlantic Avenue Bridge to start connecting people to Atlantic Ave and kind of where the Linwood Brewery is. And then also our Gorman Street connector, which is a separated facility, open this year as well. And so it's been an exciting year for us and these projects that we've had over this past year. We also had some batch of projects put in through our annual street resurfacing. This is a program that we have actually been really successful in getting bike lanes installed through resurfacing. So we work with our street maintenance group to identify streets that are up for annual resurfacing that overlap with our bike share, with our bike plan. And so when we identify these streets, we work with them to get bike lanes installed as part of the resurfacing process. So last year we got 6 streets with bike lanes in through that program. We've also had a great year for the bike share program. Some of you may have seen that we got rebranded this year to Cardinal Bike Share. We also added 2 new stations, one at Gateway Plaza and the Longleaf Hotel. So we ended the year with 32 stations and 336 bikes. Next slide. It was, we had the most rides in the year compared to our previous year. So 46,000 rides this year. Fairly busy year overall. I think January was really only our slow month, but had enough rides to take 5 times, or miles covered was equivalent to 5 times riding around the earth. So bike share riders were very busy in Raleigh this year. Next slide. Kind of a map of where people are biking. So you can see people are taking our bikes pretty far out of the downtown core, going all the way to Gardner, to Umstead Park. So really all over the city with an average length trip of almost 45 minutes and 3 miles. So the bikes are really getting around Raleigh. We've also had some great bike events this year. We had 2 traffic gardens in 2021. For those who aren't familiar with traffic gardens, they are kind of scaled down infrastructure usually done in parking lots for children to kind of to practice their skills and learn about how to safely navigate our infrastructure. So, they get experience with like stopping and going. What does a stop sign mean? How do I merge with traffic? How do I navigate oncoming cyclists? How do I enter a roundabout? Not that we expect children to enter our full-size roundabouts, but it does just help them see kind of what are the rules of traffic, so that as they continue to navigate in our cities, they've started to develop those skills early on. We had a pop-up cycle track on State Street, and then we also had an open streets event on Lenore Street as a kickoff to the Chavistic Strollway project that we recently received $3 million in federal funding to do a full implementation of. Next slide. One big one this year was our text change that updated the street design manual. This was a big one for us because it moved our bike lanes from in street to behind the curb as our standard cross section for all of our avenue types except for sensitive area avenues. So this means that moving forward with new development, or as we with new streets, it's going to be taking bikes, putting them behind the curb, and really building facilities that are aimed for more all ages and ability. We're really excited about this. We're starting to see development come in for review that is implementing this new text change. So we're looking forward to what this means for our Raleigh bike infrastructure. So on the horizon, what is coming? We have a lot of projects. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I did want to kind of just highlight a few. Annual resurfacing for this year has started already. So this year we have 4 streets. One big one is buffered bike lanes on Whitaker Mill. We also have Harvest Oak Drive, Little Briar Creek Lane, and Pleasant Valley Road. We'll have bike lanes added as part of resurfacing, and that has actually already started. Next slide. Another big one is the Blue Ridge Road Bike and Ped Improvement Project. This is going to be adding a multi-use path, also a pedestrian bridge over Wade Avenue. And Jane, if you go to the next slide, a big part of this is we are going to be installing Raleigh's first protected intersection at the entrance of the NCMA, the art museum there. This project, I believe, is just about to start construction. And last I looked at the timeline, it's estimated completion in late 2023. We also have the Oberlin Road Streetscape project. This project is by the Village District. It is adding buffered bike lanes along Oberlin Road, some of which will be parking protected. We are also going to be doing some transit improvements and widening sidewalks as well. This one is also about to begin construction with an estimated completion date in 2023. We also do the Complete Streets Implementation Program, which I previously oversaw. We have the Lake Boone Safety Improvement Project, which is from Ridge Road to 440. This one is going to be adding in-lane, in-street bike lanes, as well as some pedestrian safety improvements. And we are going to be going from a 4-lane undivided cross-section to a 3-lane, so 1 lane each direction with a center turn lane. And then I previously mentioned that we had completed phase 2 of the downtown north-south connector. We are now looking at implementing phase 3. This phase is from Peace Street to the Wade underpass. So not many people are aware of this, but where the on-ramp where Wade goes onto Cabot Boulevard, there's actually a little underpass for bike and peds. that allows you to get over to Fairview Road, where that green dash line is. So we are looking at creating a link from West Street to that underpass, so that would provide a safe bike ped connection directly from 5 Points to downtown. So we're very excited about this one. A few upcoming events. For those who don't know, May is Bike Month. So this upcoming Friday, actually, we are going to be celebrating Bike to Work Day. We have 13 partners that are going to be hosting Bike to Work Day stops, mainly around downtown, but we do have some by in North Hills and NC State as well. So we're really looking forward to that and invite anyone who would like to join to check out one of our pit stops listed here. Next slide. Actually, can you go back? I do want to mention some of these most of them are in the morning, although we do have some that will be taking place in the afternoon. We have a full map online where you can find the locations, but there are mainly morning ones, but also some afternoon ones as well. And then lastly, in addition, we have some more Bike Month events coming up. This weekend, we have a smart cycling class as well as a greenery ride at Honeycutt Park. So if you want to learn more about Bike Month activities and events that are happening, there are a lot of really great ones from the city, but also with some partners, including Oaks and Spokes. Please visit RaleighNC.gov. And if you put in the keyword Bike Month, it should bring you to our page where you can find a calendar of events and more information about them. That is my presentation. Thank you, guys. Awesome. Are we doing questions now or at the end?
We'll do them at the end. First, I wanted to thank you, of course, Fontaine, for the update. And yeah, just a reminder that if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll hopefully get to all of them at the end of both presentations to make sure we definitely get through all our speakers in time. And with that, we are going to take a short break to play another video for you that we actually just finished editing yesterday. So you're going to be one of the first to see it. And you might recognize some people in that video as well. So let me go ahead and find that so I can get it going and enjoy.
Commute smarter, not harder. Presented by Commute Smart Raleigh. Today we will learn bike lane lingo. The city of Raleigh is always working on improving its bike infrastructure to make cycling a comfortable, practical, and enjoyable alternative to driving. Let's take a look at the different types of bike facilities there are and how to navigate them. Conventional bike lanes dedicate space in the street exclusively for cyclists. They include a solid white stripe between the general travel lane and the bike lane. They are marked by a bicyclist symbol with arrows indicating the direction of travel. Shared lane markings, also known as sharrows, are markings in the street that look like a bicycle and two arrows. Sharrows help cyclists position themselves to be visible in the street. They also communicate that the lane is intended for both cyclists and motorists. Buffered bike lanes have a painted buffer between the bike lane and the general travel lane. In some cases, the painted buffer might appear between the bike lane and on-street parking to help bicyclists avoid drivers opening car doors. Separated bike lanes, unlike buffered ones, are bike lanes that are separated from general travel lanes with some kind of vertical element. They are also called protected bike lanes. There are various separation types, including flexible posts, curb stops, concrete curbs, or even planters. Separated bike lanes may be designed to also accommodate one-way or two-way travel. These facilities are called cycle tracks. The green two-stage turn boxes, or bike boxes for short, provide a space for bicyclists to make left turns at intersections, especially useful when car volume is high. To use the bike box, pass traffic on the right and position yourself to cross the street when the light turns green to not have to unsafely maneuver your way over to the left lane from a bike lane. These green dashed portions of bike lanes function in the same way as conventional bike lanes, but the green paint is intended to increase driver awareness of bicyclists. For example, a cyclist might want to go straight through the intersection, but a driver would like to take a right turn. These dash green bike lanes are for everybody to approach with caution and avoid conflict or even a bad collision. Side paths are paved trails that are located along the street. They are wider than sidewalks so that bicyclists and pedestrians can travel side by side and are oftentimes integrated with the city's Greenway system. Also, cars are not allowed to park in a bike lane for any amount of time, and drivers, please always look out for cyclists before exiting your vehicle. Make it a habit to use your right hand to open your car door. This will make it easier to look behind you and check for any cyclists before opening. This technique is also known as a Dutch reach. And remember, North Carolina law establishes the same access for cyclists and motorists to all public streets. So now that you're up to date with the lingo, enjoy riding through Raleigh. If you have questions on how to safely enjoy a bike commute or any other way to commute, please contact us at commute@raleighnc.gov.
So there you go. That video was a nice little segue to our next speaker, which is Trish Farnam from BikeWalkNC. You might see her around on her very blue bike, but she is, like most of us, also a motorist, and she aims to inspire fellow drivers to become a road ally with cyclists and pedestrians. So prior to her work in the Bike Friendly Driver program, she worked in healthcare policy for the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. So take it away, Trish. Feel free to go ahead and start sharing now.
Hey, Jana. So let's make sure that we can do the most important part of the day, which is make sure y'all can see that screen. Jana, can you give me a confirmation?
See it.
You got it? We good?
Yes, we can see it. Can you hear me?
Awesome.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Hi, everybody. My name is Trish Farnam, and I am very, very excited to be here today. And just as Jana said, my background is actually healthcare policy. And I used to come to Raleigh. I actually live in Wilmington, and I used to come to Raleigh on a regular basis to work with the Department of Health and Human Services. So if anybody on the call is like, wow, I actually drive a car more than I ride my bike, you are in good company. And I just wanted to kind of reassure folks, if you are a driver, this next 20 minutes is for you. I want to also say that we accepted Jana's challenge of taking an hour and a half training and distilling it to something that could be presented in 20 minutes. So we are calling this the espresso version of the Bicycle Friendly Driver program. And again, we're really appreciative of the opportunity to share this information. I am, as Jana mentioned, with a group called Bike Walk North Carolina, and I'm here with two of my colleagues from BikeWalkNC, Terry Lansdell and Steve Goodrich. In addition to being on the leadership team at BikeWalkNC, they are also my personal teachers. So I really appreciate them joining. They have a wealth of technical expertise on everything we're going to be talking about today, and definitely want to invite folks to flag any questions you have, and the three of us will work to answer those questions a little bit later. All right, so we have about 18 minutes now to get through a lot of content. So we are going to start with our top 5 list of those things that if you remember nothing else about bicycle and driver safety, that you remember these 5 things. So importantly, we're starting with number 5, which is, as the video Jana already showed, reflected and reminded us, a bicycle is a vehicle by law in North Carolina and has the same rights to be on the roads as other vehicles. It's also important to know that a person on a bike is required to follow the law, all the rules of the road, except those that don't have any application due to the nature of it being a bike. Question: does this include using the full lane? Why, yes, it does include using the right to use the full lane. A bicyclist may use the full lane for a number of reasons. And my guess is that some of the very experienced cyclists who are on this call could list these reasons from direct experience. None of these are probably going to be a surprise to many of you, but maybe for those of us who are more motorists than cyclists, these will help remind us about why sometimes we're going to see cyclists in the middle of the lane as we are tootling about town. I did want to flag something. I really appreciated that the video that Jana just showed featured the dooring issues and concerns. It's important to know that that is one of the reasons that people may control the lane in order to prevent those kind of dangerous encounters with folks who are not aware of what they're doing as they open their doors. Number 4, we want to make sure people have some clear information on the best practice for how to pass a cyclist. So importantly, if you look at crash data in our state, overtaking by a motorist is by far the biggest source of crashes in our state. And so we want to make sure we provide a little bit of concrete guidance on what to do in the situation if you've got to pass at all, which sometimes is maybe a question to ask yourself. First of all, there's lots of things about the measurements and what our law requires. 2 feet is the legal minimum. Anything less in North Carolina, passing any other distance any less distance is illegal. Now, none of us just want to do the bare minimum, right? We want to be good stewards. We want to be good partners on the road. So let's start talking what is above the ground floor. 3 feet is often considered the ethical minimum and is often the legal minimum in many states. 4 feet is the preferred minimum and is legally required if you otherwise are able to safely pass a person on a bike in a no passing zone, like on the double line, which, if you didn't know already, is legally allowed in North Carolina. However, the best way to pass a cyclist, the safest way to pass a cyclist, because none of us want to have to get out the measuring tapes, is to change lanes to pass. To do it in a way that is safe and thoughtful as if you were passing any other vehicle on the road, but to fully change lanes in order to pass a cyclist on the road. All right, couple of tips for keeping that simple. First of all, we want to make sure that the very first thing people do if they encounter a cyclist on the road is that they slow down and maybe reflect, do we even need to pass at all? And then, like we said, wait until you can safely pass into the other lane or give at least 4 feet. And then again, the best practice is to change lanes to pass. And then don't forget, don't return to the lane until you see the cyclist in your mirror to ensure that you have a safe distance between you and the cyclist. All right, we're moving on to number 3, which we're only going to touch on briefly because the video did a lot on this. But we want to make sure that as this incredible infrastructure grows throughout our state and certainly throughout Raleigh, Fontaine's presentation was so exciting to me. We want to make sure people know how to coexist with bike lanes. And a lot of these points were made in the video. We want to make sure to also flag that last bullet on the bottom there, that if you are turning right, it is okay to adjust your car to enter the bike lane before turning, so long as it's otherwise safe to do so. Doing so helps prevent cyclists from coming up, and then you're doing what's called a right hook. So we want to make sure that you have the tools that you need, that as you're navigating those bike lanes, that you have the tools you need to effectively communicate your intentions on the road and prevent crashes between you and folks who may be using the bike lane. Okay, so now we're at number 2, and we've got several slides on number 2 because it's a big one. We all know, especially if folks are tootling around in town, we know that intersections can be high conflict areas, potentially high conflict areas between vulnerable road users and motorists. And so we want to spend some time on what is perhaps a very straightforward practice, but is fraught with complexity, and that's turning. So we wanted to highlight a couple of practices and hopefully some tips that can help you be a better turner in your car. So let's take a couple of scenarios. The first one is the one that's outlined here on the slide. You pull up at a right light to 2 people on bikes also waiting at the intersection. What happens if you are planning to turn right and the people on bikes are planning on going straight? This is why controlling the lane may make sense for cyclists, is to make sure that they are in road position to keep themselves safe from that right turn by the motorist. So a couple of tips if you find yourself in a situation like this. If cyclists are positioned to your right, give the cyclist a little bit of a head start before you turn, much like you would if a car was in front of you, to reveal their intended direction. That's going to help ensure that you minimize any risk of having a crash by turning right. And then similar to the bike lane, to prevent a cyclist from approaching on your right, signal intent to turn right. And when it's safe to do so, adjust your lane position to the right before turning to fully indicate that intent. All right, next one. So again, turning, lots of moving parts at intersections on surface streets in town. These pictures are taken from Wilmington, and we all know that as good as the infrastructure is getting, or there are still times where the infrastructure lags behind. And we want to make sure that we are not fully trusting the machines when we are operating a 4,000-pound motor vehicle. So let's take a situation where you are at an intersection and the light turns green and you want to turn right. What happens if pedestrians are lawfully crossing the street onto which you are turning? Even though you have the green, it's really important to remember there are activities happening on the periphery that you need to be mindful of before you make your next turn with that very large vehicle. Tips to motorists: if you are turning 90 degrees, first do a 180. Look left, look right, look all around 180 degrees quickly before making your next move. That ensures that you are aware of what's happening in your surroundings, regardless of what the machines are telling you to do. The next one, again, we're still on turning because it's a biggie. We want to talk about the importance of seeing other people. And in this case, we are going to talk about the practice of right on red. And it is a process that is fraught with complexity and potential endangerment for vulnerable road users. So in this scenario, you are the teal car cruising up to the intersection to make a right turn. The light is red. What happens if you cruise right through that crosswalk to get in better position to turn right on red and don't see the bicyclist using the crossing from the multi-use path on your right? As motorists, if we are intent on doing right on red, we are typically looking for oncoming traffic from the left. And it's really important, again, that we do that 180-degree view before we make any decision about our next step in turning. I want to say this is an editorial comment, but I wonder if we can all, as motorists, maybe reflect and challenge ourselves to really think, is right on red necessary at all? And the time that perhaps is saved is probably not worth the risk that it places to other vulnerable road users. All right, last one on number 2, and that's turning to see others on the road. And this is coming from one of those center lanes, those center turn lanes. We've all seen them. And in this scenario, you're still the teal car and you're looking for a break in traffic to turn left. So you're waiting for this white car to cruise on by so that you can take advantage of this gap here. What happens if you don't see the cyclist in the shadow of that white car? It's really important, and we have a whole section in our extended training on this, that we condition ourselves as motorists to expect to see cyclists and pedestrians on the road so that we don't fall prey to what's the concept of inattentional blindness. We need to expect to see cyclists on the road, even if we haven't even seen them there before. And then once we have an anticipation that they are there, we need to make sure that we are mindful of where they may be. And so once again, we want to really reiterate the importance of, before you make any turn, take a long 180-degree check to make sure you aren't missing what's happening on the edges of the road or in that oncoming traffic. Importantly, and many of you all know this directly, especially with the advent of e-bikes, it's important to know that cyclists are often going at a much faster clip than we as motorists can appreciate. And we want to make sure that you are sensitive to that. So if you would not otherwise turn in front of a motor vehicle from the same distance, just wait, because that extra few seconds could really prevent a really bad day for the cyclist and for you. All right, last one. Here's the good news. We've just spent 15, 18 minutes giving a lot of scenarios and how to avoid those crash scenarios. And it's pretty weighty stuff. It's pretty heavy stuff. It's important stuff. Here's what I think is so cool about this effort and about this educational effort is that we all acknowledge that pedestrians and cyclists and vulnerable road users are people. We all know that we're good people. We want to take care of others in our community. Here's what's exciting to me, that in addition to creating great infrastructure to support good behavior, we all have the individual opportunity to create the roads we want, because we are people. And as we deal with a lot of the world's intractable problems, this is a challenge. Road safety is a challenge that we can all individually address. So, we did it. We have now gone through the top 5 tips for being a bicycle-friendly driver. Thank you so much for the time. Jana, thank you for the invitation. We're really excited to be a part of this esteemed group of presenters. And if folks want additional information, feel free to, first of all, raise any questions you have in the chat and our team can help answer them. If you would like more information about the Bicycle Friendly Driver Program and other trainings we're doing throughout our state, feel free to email me. And then I also wanted to alert that you have some additional resources that are coming your way in the hard copy deck. So anyway, I think that's it, Jana. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Thank you for that invaluable information. And we do have some time to take questions now. So I hope we can get to them. And if you have any, please put them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and speak up in person. But I do want to say, so we got a question here. And one thing I told Trish when she was going to condense a really large, big presentation that was incredibly valuable to me, that I had listened to a couple weeks ago, maybe even months at this point, and that's why I asked her to come here. I told her to condense it in a way, because I know that the people coming to this would most likely already be cyclists. They most likely already are in tune with the cycling community and just want to learn more about it. So I think the big 5 takeaways that or lessons that we've learned from Trish today are tools and resources that can be used to our motorist friends that might, have a different mindset on things, and that we can teach them best ways to be an ally, right, to our cycling community. So with that, I see Mike did write. So, Trish, no offense, you're preaching to the choir here, but what is the state doing to get this information to all drivers? And I'm not sure if we here can speak necessarily upon that, but if somebody has any comments, either Trish or Fontaine, please let us know now.
Absolutely. I can start, and then we'll invite my wonderful colleagues, Terry and Steve, to jump in as well. So absolutely. So this is the Bicycle Friendly Driver Program was really designed, and it's a national approach to really educating what I've started calling the elephant in the road, which is the behaviors and the practices of motor vehicle users. And so it really is a good faith effort to teach drivers and motorists how to be better road allies to vulnerable road users. To answer the question specifically, one is, I know a lot of us as cyclists and as pedestrians are also motorists. And so we have found that there is value in training folks, even if they are cyclists, because it's always important for us to remain current on what is best practice. That said, we do have some exciting efforts underway. We are in our pilot year with the Governor's Highway Safety Program on this project, and we are currently getting ready to release a series of trainings dedicated to young adult drivers in partnership with various county parks and rec teams across the state. We are also working with our AARP colleagues to address perhaps the specific needs of older motorists. Everybody recognizes the importance of getting this type of curriculum into the driver's ed curriculum within our state. And we do have informal conversations going on about how do we influence that particular programming. But I think what I'm also really excited about is the collaboration that's happening with groups across the state related to Vision Zero, related to healthcare entities, related to Parks and Rec, where we are targeting and we are promoting this directly to motorists. Terry, is there anything you or Steve would like to add to that?
I've got something to add. For about 5 years ago, BikeWalkNC started working directly with NCDOT to define best practices for bicycling and motoring together. Specifically, what should a motorist do in each of the following situations? What should the bicyclist be doing in the following situations? We found that it was essential for us to nail down those best practices so that future messaging would be consistent with best practices. What happened a lot of times is either bad advice would go out or no advice because they couldn't agree on what the advice would be. So we, working with the NCDOT Traffic Safety Department, working with the state traffic engineer, we actually created a Bible of best practices for operating on the roadway together. And one of the big accomplishments in that set of best practices was the advice to change lanes to pass, which was a big departure from past messaging from NCDOT, which was really all revolving around same lane passing. Which just we know doesn't work on most roads. So getting the change lanes to pass, getting endorsement of cycling in the center of a travel lane when the cyclist feels that that's the best place to be, going over a lot of operational scenarios that need to be done properly. Now we've got the best practices agreed upon with NCDOT, which is huge. And from this point forward, we can refer back to that documentation on messaging. And that's the next step we're at right now is getting those messaging programs going and referring back to the best practices we've already established with NCDOT.
So I also see here in the chat, we have a link to an online test available for all ages and types of road users to check that out as well. And I want to go back. Deborah had asked a long time ago, I think while Fontaine was still speaking, did any of your resurfacing projects get rid of motorist travel lanes? So I'll throw it over to you, Fontaine, to answer that.
So yes, when we do bike lanes through the resurfacing, we don't move curbs. So we're using existing asphalt. So more often than not, and I think in this case for all four, we are doing road diets. So we're reducing travel lanes in order to fit in the bike lanes. More often than not, it looks like similar to what we were doing on like Boone, where we have a 4-lane road where we go to 2 lanes each direction and add a center turn lane to make space for the bike lanes.
Excellent. And we also have here from Josh, is there any incentive for businesses or the city to put in more sturdy bike racks around the city?
So Jess, I'm not sure what you're thinking in terms of sturdy, but we do in our in the city code for new development, they are required to put in bike racks. We do have standards of what those bike racks look like and that they have to meet. We also, certain types of development are required to put in long-term biking as well, which means it needs to be weather protected. It's often indoors for more long-term use. And then the city actually, this afternoon, council is looking at the draft budget, and we have put in a request for additional funding for our bike rack program so that the city can get back into installing more bike racks around the city. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Had to see.
Happens. I got another question here. What are the plans for more bike share stations outside of downtown?
So we do have standalone, there's kind of several methods that the city is looking at expanding our bike share system. We've partnered with some developers. Developers have actually been really interested in installing bike share. So the 2 actually that we installed this past year were both done and paid for by developers, and then the hardware was donated to the city. There's a lot of more future development coming that has agreed to expand our system for us. Often that's seen as part of their requirements for rezoning. They'll put that in that they agree to purchase a station, donate it, make room for it on their property when it gets built. So that's one way. We are also looking at expanding in this part of our bus rapid transit. So New Bern will be putting in 3 bike share stations, I believe, along the corridor to accompany BRT. And then the city also has standalone funds for 1 or 2 expansion every year, where we'll be kind of complementing, looking for gaps between what's done with private development and BRT and using our funds to kind of fill those gaps.
Excellent. Exciting things coming up. I was not able to locate any further questions. If anybody wants to, oh, here we go. Deborah is asking, for those who are old enough to know, the right turn on red was a reaction to the outrageous price on gasoline, not for speed necessarily. Oh, there we go. I did not know that. So, and then we have here, speaking of bike commuting in partnership with Go Triangle, is there any plan to expand service/route to cover Durham to Raleigh? For example, I live near Umstead Glenwood entrance, and for me to plan to go to Durham tomorrow for the Bike Durham event, I have to either cycle through the very vehicle-centric Briar Creek, TW Alexander area, or same route return, or 2, ride Go Raleigh 70X, connect with Go Durham 2, but without a viable return trip because Go Raleigh 70X stopped running after 6 p.m., meaning I still have to make it back from Briar Creek to home. So yeah, is there any, yeah, because that goes between 2 cities, if there's any partnership going on there.
I am not as familiar with what our transit plans are, so I cannot speak to that. But I do believe that the Triangle Bikeway is back as a project, which would help provide some of that connection.
Just to speak a little bit
about, I
about,
will add a link.
Okay, yeah, just to speak about transit. I don't have it in front of me right now. I can't speak necessarily to the connection between Raleigh and Durham, but there are some packages, route packages along Glenwood that will improve some of the connection in general to downtown and whatnot. Those have been delayed due to the pandemic and several other reasons. And I don't have it right in front of me exactly what it will be, but there will be, 15-minute headways and whatnot with the bus, but I can't speak to a connection to Durham specifically with transit, but I did want to put that out there. And I see Fontaine put in the chat, trianglebikeway.com, for some information to put for people to look up to see connections there. Right. Do we have any further questions? Oh, and I see Brandon Watson also put some information there from Campo about the bike and pedestrian triangle bikeway study. I will also go, all these links and stuff, I'll go ahead and email this to the group as well, because I'm sure everyone wants to take a look at it after this has been completed. But if there are no further questions, again, I'm happy to provide any contact info of our speakers to those interested. And if you have any other follow-up questions you can think of after the fact, you can either email them directly to me or to them if you have their information, if you wrote it down. But you can do commute@raleighnc.gov to get you guys in touch. And as Fontaine had mentioned earlier, you can check out raleighnc.gov, search keyword Bike Month for all the other great events that we still have coming this month. And I'm glad that I gave you guys 10 minutes back of your day. We finished a little early, which is excellent in terms of us trying to get things done and eat lunch, right? But other than that, thank you again and happy cycling.